Hello, thank you for joining me this evening. I'd like to share a tutorial using Bron, one of the new fairies from Lavinia stamps. I've done this one for this month's challenge, which is called Under the Moonlight. So for this project you will need Bron, the new stamp. You will need hanging lanterns, which is one of the older stamps. You will need whimsical wisps, and you'll need this stamp, which is like a grass stamp from the Flora set, which is one of the new sets, and the small heart. So they're your stamps you'll need. You'll need some low tack tape and some double-sided tape, a red glitter pen and your gold pen, and a fan brush. You'll need 2 blending brushes for your distress inks, which will be blue and pink. You'll need VersaFine Clair in Nocturne and Shady Lane. You'll need Salty Ocean, Chip Sapphire, Worn Lipstick and Blueprint Sketch distress inks. And you'll also need your, if you have one, Annie 6-inch circle aperture stencil. And I'm using a piece of 16cm square multifarious card, and as you can see I've already put my stencil onto my card with low tack tape. So I'll just move these out of the way, and then we can get started. Oh, you'll also need a little bit of white acrylic paint, just to put some white splashes on the background for your card. So we start off with our circle aperture on our card, and I've stuck it down onto my mat. And to start with, I'm going to use Salty Ocean distress ink, and I'm just going to blend this onto my card in random areas. This is going to be my moon. And I'm going to do it in just 3 areas of my circle. And then we're going to move on to our worn lipstick. Once again, we're just brushing the ink onto our card in small circular motions in just these other 3 areas. There we go. And the next thing we do is to get our stencil, and I forgot to show you this one, so we're going to use the Glory stencil over the top of our moon shape. I'm going to place that there, and I'm going to take my pink distress ink, worn lipstick, and I'm going to gently rub over my stencil, holding it in place with my pink. And then I'm just going to lift, and I'm quite happy with that, so that's perfect. That's just what I want. And we can remove our low tack tape. Oops. And we can remove our stencil, and that's our moon shape done. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a paper template that I've cut out that's the same size as my moon, and I'm going to hold it in place with some low tack tape. And I'm going to take my Chip Sapphire and my Blueprint Sketch inks, and I'm just going to go around the outside area of my card, dabbing off onto my mat before I bring it onto my multifarious card. Once again, I'm using circular motions to go all around my card. And that's our card done. And then I'm going to carry on going round and go round once more, but I'm going to go round with Blueprint Sketch. Sometimes you get a little bit of a purpley type colour with this one as well. Sort of highlights the Chip Sapphire, I think. I'm not going right up to the moon this time, I'm just going around the edge of the card. And there we go, I'm quite happy with that. That looks very pretty. So I can now remove my paper circle, and that's our finished background for the moon with the sky. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a ground at the base. And for this, I'm going to use some low tack tape. I'm going to measure so it's a bit longer than my card. And then I'm going to tear it all down the length. I used to do this with paper, and then one day I just decided to use low tack tape. And now I like this method because it sticks to your card and you don't have to hold it in place. So I'm going to put that about there. And then I'm going to get a piece of paper. And I'm going to hold my piece of paper in place with the other piece of tape. So I don't have to worry about getting black ink above my and I get my black blending brush, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video as well. Always forget something. And then I'm going to gently brush along the bottom of my card to get my ground area. Gently brushing so I don't lift my tape. And make sure the whole area is nice and black before we take it off. And that's our ground area. Throw that in the bin and clean up. Clean up my mat now. Also clean my fingers in case I've got black ink on them as well. So there we go. Nice and clean and dry. Our next task to do is to stamp our fairy. And the reason I like to stamp my fairy first is because I want to see how far down the card I can bring my branches or my trees or my flowers that I'm going to have hanging at the top. So I'm going to use my stamping platform. Ouch. I'm going to use my stamping platform to put my piece of card in. I've placed my fairy where I want her to sit, central to my moon. And put my magnets down. And I'm going to ink up Fairy Bron in Black Nocturne Versifying Clear. And I'm just going to wipe off that edge because I don't want to get any little bits of black ink on my background. There we go. And press down. Pressing down firmly onto my fairy and moving around just for a little while, just letting the ink soak into the card. And hopefully we won't need to re-ink her. Oh, we do need to re-ink her. I don't need to re-ink her wings. Or her face. So I won't re-ink them. I shall just re-ink the body. That needs a little bit more ink on it. Once again, press firmly, moving around so you get every area of your fairy. This is one of the newer fairies, Bron, her name is again. I think she's very pretty. And lift, and there, perfect. So that's Bron stamped onto the card. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the background at the top. So we need a piece of scrap paper. And the first stamp we're going to use is our Whimsical Wisps. I'm going to place my card onto my piece of paper, and I'm going to get my VersaFine Clair Shady Lane. I'm going to ink up my stamp, having a little cloth to hand to just wipe the edges if I need to. And then I'm going to stamp onto my piece of paper and use a second generation stamping on my card, because I want this to be behind my flowers. So we've got a little bit of greenery along with our flowers. I'm just going to do this randomly all the way along. Eyeing that one up with that one there. That's our green foliage done with our Whimsical Wisps. Turn that over, and we're now going to do the hanging lanterns. So we take our hanging lantern stamp, place it onto our acrylic block. This mat is nice and spongy. And this time we're going to use VersaFine Clair Nocturne, but I'm using first generation stamping for this stamp. So we're going to start off the edge of the card, press down and lift. And once again, just do this all along the card. And that's our top area of our card done. So we're getting along really nicely now. We've got two more little bits of stamping to do. And our first little bit of stamping is our Flora it's from one of the new sets. You get 2 in the set. Put that one away. And once again we're going to use our black. Oh, that's green. Green. We want the black. And I'm just going to use a piece of paper. Let's do that this way round. I don't want the stamp to come down below the ground area. So I'm going to just place a piece of paper there while I'm stamping my Flora. Oh, I can't open it. There we go. And I'm just inking up the top area of this stamp. And then I'm just going to cover up my ground area where I'm going to stamp. So I just want it to poke out the top, so it looks like it's growing up from the ground. I don't want no dark areas of the stamping onto the ground area. And just randomly ink all across with this stamp. Just put a little one. Put a little one in. No, I'll put a little one there, I think. I know that looks like it's in the air, but I'll fix that in a minute. And have one there. And I'm just going to have a little piece. Oops. Coming up there like that. There we go. And that's our stamping of our bottom area done. I'm just going to take a little black pen, thin pen. This is a 0.2. And I'm just going to get that to touch her leg so it doesn't look like it's floating in the air. And there we go, that's the base of our card stamped as well. And just one more piece of stamping to do, which is our heart. I'm going to do this on a stamping mat, stamping platform, so that I can ink it up a couple of times because I'm using distress ink with it. So I'm going to place the heart in her hand like that. Oops. Stay there. Bring the magnets down. I'm going to use a darker ink. I think I'll use Abandoned Coral. Just cleaning up the edge of the stamp. and then place that down. And then I'm going to re-ink. There we go. And that's all our stamping done. And now we just need to embellish our card. For the flowers, I coloured them in pink, so I just put some ink onto my mat, sprayed a little water, I'm actually going to use Candied Apple, so it's going to be a darker pink. And I've got a thin paintbrush, very thin paintbrush. Can you see how thin that is? And using my ink on my mat with a little bit of water, I just coloured in my flowers. And there we are. We're now finished colouring them in. And the next thing we're going to do, you can see, because I had a bit of sparkle on my brush from last time I used it, it's sparkling. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my red sparkle pen, and on these areas where there are circles, I'm just going to quickly dab in each circle a glitter pen. And there we go. Can you see that? It's sparkling now with the red glitter pen. And I'm going to gently rub my pen on my mat to get some of the ink onto my mat. And this is what I did last time. I just put a little bit of water on there, and I gently picked up the ink with the water and just brushed over my heart. so that my heart now sparkles. Can you see? There you go. And that's our card nearly finished. We just got to do our gold highlights. Our gold highlights. So I'm going to highlight my fairies here with gold. And I'm also going to highlight her body so that it looks like she's sparkling in the moonlight. Highlight her hand. Right, so and then I'm going to highlight her wings. And there she is. You can, if you want, to add a little bit of text embellishment to the bottom, is take a little bit of white acrylic paint with your fan brush and using a piece of paper to protect some of your card. I don't think there's enough water there. Nope. You can put a few splashes of white. Just onto little areas of your card, just to give some extra highlights. Don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. Okay, now last thing that we need to do is to just highlight our moon with our gold pen. So I get my gold pen and I just gradually and slowly go round the edge of my moon. My gold pen doesn't seem to want to work at the moment. And as luck would have it, I don't have another one. Put a bit of tape there, and sometimes having a little bit of a rough area brings it back to life, as you can see. I'll go around my moon. And then go around that last piece there, and that's our moon highlighted. And there we go. That's Bron Loving the Moonlight. And my last thing to do is to just highlight the edge of my card with some black ink so that it brings your eye into the centre of the card. Not too much, just along the edge. And there we go. And that's our finished card. And this is the card when it's mounted. I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.